Hey, it goes 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now here we go. Hey, so today your boy gonna talk about his fall from grace from the Xbox community. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you will see why those bastards kicked me out, and you will see why I enjoy representing the Pegasus Nation. Okay, so when I first got on Twitter, I've been on Twitter for a long time, like a really long time, over 10 years. And most of my following on Twitter is made up from software engineers, developers, because I didn't really participate in the whole console war video game stuff on Twitter at first. I did on YouTube, like I would watch different things on YouTube and just watch things play out there. But I was mostly a viewer, right? Like not a participant. So I would just watch stuff, and Twitter was mainly for work and for professionalism. And that's basically how I handle my Twitter account. Cause back then, right, like people were really careful to make sure that like their personal views didn't impact their professional views, and you didn't want to cause a rift with the place where you worked and something you might've said on social media, blah, blah, blah. So I pretty much did Twitter as only for professional stuff. Just that's it. Nothing more. Just all programming related technology stuff. Eventually, though, I started participating with the gaming stuff on Twitter itself. And the reason for that, I'll have to take you back a little bit. So I don't know how many of y'all watched YouTube and Zaire and his debates and all the little stuff that he has on there. But long story short, there was a time where the Xbox community was like #1 in social media presence. And like a lot of the stuff that you see that you attribute to the PlayStation guys today, a lot of that stuff was actually started by the Xbox community. And they had some really big luminaries in the space. I don't remember all of their names, but they were really big. And PlayStation guys did not want to debate them. Like Xbox reigned supreme, and the Xbox influencers reigned supreme. As a matter of fact, Pᴇዀ got a video on his channel talking about all of this stuff. Matter of fact, I'll see if I can't find it and put it in the description. So long story short though, the Xbox dudes was just like slaying everybody when it came to debating. And when I say debating, I mean defending Xbox against its competitors. They were really good. And like, I'm not going to even lie, I was a big fan of this because I myself was leaning more towards Xbox. I'll go over that in a different video, but I definitely was partial to Xbox. I always have gamed wherever games were, but Xbox was definitely my favorite platform, not because of anything about the Xbox itself, but because I always root for the underdog. And I didn't like how arrogant the PlayStation community was with the success of the PS4. And it felt really good to have Xbox dudes stand up and defend Xbox. And so I really enjoyed watching all the Xbox dudes do their thing in these debates and all of this stuff. And again, to be clear, like I've always loved and enjoyed PlayStation. So, oh yeah, that's another thing I need to make sure that I'm separating. So when I say PlayStation and Xbox in this conversation, I am not talking about Sony and Microsoft. I'm talking about the social media community around each platform. So when I say Xbox in this conversation, unless I clarify, I always mean the Xbox influencers that was on YouTube. And when I say PlayStation, I mean the PlayStation guys that were on YouTube. I don't mean the actual PlayStation itself. Except for right now, I'm about to say this thing, I mean the actual PlayStation. I have always been a big PlayStation fan. Always. I have never not owned a PlayStation from the very first day it came out. Same thing with the Xbox though. So I enjoyed playing everywhere. But when it came to these communities, I preferred the Xbox community more because the Xbox platform was the underdog, and I didn't like the arrogance of the PlayStation guys. And like, honestly, I didn't like the way Xbox messed up the whole announcement for the Xbox One. and I was mad the way that I thought that the gaming community turned on Xbox after all they'd given us with the 360. And so I was really annoyed. I understood why people felt that way, but I just thought it was just this big gross overreaction. I didn't like it, even though I understood it, but I still was rooting for the Xbox platform because they were the underdogs. And so it was good to see the Xbox influencers defend against the PlayStation guys, and like life was good, right? So that's basically what it was. Well, eventually this guy showed up, Pᴜryrock77. Y'all, most of y'all, if you listening to me, you know who Rock is, but I will definitely leave a link to his channel in the description. And so Rock showed up and he started debating all of the Xbox guys. And whereas before these Xbox dudes was killing the PlayStation dudes, just like making mincemeat out of them, right? When Pᴜryrock showed up, the entire balance of power changed, and all of the Xbox guys started getting slayed one by one. And they could not withstand his debating tactics and like the points that he were making. So eventually it got to the point where people were scared to debate him. Like they didn't want to debate him anymore, or they were very reluctant to debate against Pᴜryrock. So again, I still hadn't stepped in yet, but like I'm watching all of this play out, right? Because it played out over time. It didn't all happen overnight. So eventually it got to the point where so many dudes were scared of Pᴜryrock that I started paying attention to like just how is he winning all of this stuff. And as I paid more attention to the things that he was saying, I realized that he was always arguing from a position of strength and power. Like he knew what he was talking about. He had the most powerful position, and he had numbers, and they like, go watch some of those debates. You will see for yourself. Again, I'll try to find that video. I'll ask Rock if he remembers what video that is, where he goes through like the whole history of it. So he can do a better job of it than I can. But he was just destroying dudes in these debates. And so I decided that, okay, the Xbox community could actually keep up with him if they stopped arguing from emotion. If they would have their debates based on like logic and fact and truth, because Xbox has done a lot technology wise, right, that people didn't know how to bring up in a debate. And so I figured, well, look, here's the thing. The Xbox guys that are out here doing all this arguing, they just need better information. And if you give them the better information, then they already have all the swag and all of that stuff necessary to carry it into the debates. So what we really need is to find a way to help better educate the Xbox guys so that then they could go against Pᴜryrock and have a higher chance of success. So that was my mission, was to jump in to help the Xbox guys be better informed about how to approach these debates with Pᴜryrock. Well, so for a while that went well. So when I first started sharing stuff, and all of this is on Twitter, this all played out on Twitter, and anything I'm saying, you can go look it up. So I was going to take the time to look up the tweets and all of that stuff and just like show you all these tweets, but I decided not to because I really don't feel like doing it. But it's all there. I don't delete any tweets, so you can search back through the timeline. All of the stuff that I'm saying, you can easily go confirm for yourself. So long story short, I started helping the community. I started teaching them different things about like this or that. Hey, this is how this works. This is how that works. This is the impact this will have. Oh, this is the impact this thing could have. Well, we don't know how this is going to turn out, but chances are it'll turn out like this. You know, just stuff like that based on just engineering knowledge, like acquired over the years. 30 years of doing software engineering, you learn some shit. So I was sharing that with the community, and the idea was strengthening the community so that they could then go debate against Pᴜryrock and win. So things were going well for a while. I was on some very popular Xbox podcasts, and I was invited, a couple of times to appear in like these big AAA blockbuster Xbox podcasts, and things were great. And the community was learning, and everything was going according to plan, or at least I thought it was. And then I made my mistake. Actually, I made two mistakes. the first one, it was like the precursor to the mistake, but it set the stage. And then the second mistake was actually the real mistake itself, depending on how you look at it, because right now I'm feeling free. So maybe it wasn't a mistake after all. So the first thing that happened was the Windows Central dude, Jez, made a comment about the Series X and how it was going to launch with no games or something. I don't remember something. And basically he was damage controlling them not having any games. So I went on and I was like, I hear you, but like I would expect at least one game to showcase what the system could do. It don't have to be long. It don't have to be nothing. It could really just be a tech demo for all I care. But we need something to showcase the potential of the hardware to get people excited. And so he goes on and on. So he was attacking me. I didn't know that he was attacking me. I thought he was just asking me questions, trying to confirm my credentials, right? And so I'm just answering the questions back and forth. And he was stuff like, do you have an Xbox dev kit? And I'm like, no. But then I was like, but he should know better, because even if I did, I wouldn't be able to say it like out here on Twitter, right? At that time, I knew many people, many developers who did have access to Xbox dev kits, but I didn't know anyone with a PlayStation dev kit at that time. So I knew developers who had been working with the Xbox dev kit, and so I knew quite a bit about what was going on with the Xbox software development kit. So anyway, like I said, I didn't know that he was attacking me. Somebody else pointed it out to me later. They're like, no, that's a common technique. What he's trying to do is box you in until you can't answer one of his questions. I was like, okay. Because I was like, no, he's been cordial and polite the whole time. And he was like, no, and they said whatever the name of the tactic was or whatever. I was like, oh, okay. So that's when it first started, because I didn't back down. And then in that conversation, we were some back and forth between me and Cğᴏsᴜ just about like showcasing the game, new hardware. We needed to showcase the potential of games to come, show us something, yada, yada, yada. So that stuff went on. Again, all of this stuff is there on the Twitter timeline for you to see. I don't delete anything. It's all there. You can look back, you can see it. So that was the first mistake, because when I wouldn't give in to stuff that Jez was saying, I held my ground. The people in his little follower group, of course, they had some to say, like, you don't argue with Jez or something. I don't remember what they said exactly, but those was the basic sentiments, which was, how dare you have an opinion different than Jez, and you fake dev, you're not a dev. I get that a lot. You're not a dev, you fake, you have no credentials, yada yada, so on and so forth. So I was going through all of that on his I was getting responses because all of this was in a tweet that he started. So the conversation was on his timeline, basically. And so that's where the first mistake happened. So I had all of these little Windows Central follower dudes mad at me because I had the nerve to tell Jez about software engineering and how it worked on the Xbox, even though I didn't have an Xbox development kit. So that's where it started, but that kind of died down, right? So things were fine, and like I said, I kept moving on from there. And so again, for me, the only thing I wanted out of this was for people to be a little bit more educated about how things work, so that they could then go against Pᴇዀ77, because I was tired of this dude winning all of these debates. And even when he had stopped debating, like he was on Twitter and he was just like, I don't know, man, he was just like slamming people with these arguments and stuff, and he was just like shutting them down, and all the Xbox dudes, they was just looking goofy, and I didn't like it. Like, I really was rooting for the underdog. Again, like many of you, I have a PlayStation and I enjoy my PlayStation. I have an Xbox, I enjoy my Xbox, Switch, I enjoy my PC mostly. So it's like, it was just the fact that this community was so arrogant and they were so aggressive, and I didn't like it. Now, I realized that the Xbox dudes were that way first, like, because Xbox was really winning this whole thing, especially like in social media. And I enjoyed that. Like, that is the version of the Xbox group that I enjoyed and that I wanted to see. And so I enjoyed it while that was going on, and I didn't like it when PᴇŊᴏ put an end to it. So again, my only goal this whole time is to strengthen these people so that they can go argue against him. Again, I wasn't getting involved at all. I was mainly just, hey, here's how this works and here's how that works. That's it. I was just like an advisor, I guess you could call it, a consultant. So lo and behold, like I said, I was on these AAA podcasts, and I was invited to many different conversations, and like everything was great. And like the Xbox group, in my mind anyway, they was learning how things would work, and they were seeing the potential in different things, and it was just fantastic. And then lo and behold, I made my actual mistake. So I'm gonna call this the second mistake, but this is for most people, this is like the first thing that I did, but it's really not. Because like I said, when I was arguing with the Jez dude, we had a group of people that were already salty at me behind that. And so back then it was rumored that the Series S was going to come out, and this thing, it was called the Lockhart back then. And so I messed around and made a tweet about like, look, because it was just a rumor, so we didn't know if it was real or what the specs would be. But I was like, look, y'all, if this thing is real and if it comes out, like, this is not good for gaming. This is not good for gamers. Like, not at all, because it's going to hold back game design. Oh my God. Why did I say that? That is when all broke loose, because no one on the Xbox side wanted to hear that the Series S, well, the Lockhart at the time, would hold back game design. And like, you had Phil addressing it, it's not gonna hold it back, and you had like it created a stir right on social media. I mean, because I was very vocal about this, and some kind of way these bigger Xbox influencers and like media people, they were bringing it up. Is it gonna hold back design? No, it was all on the IGN podcast, and Phil was in some interview saying it's not gonna hold back. But so Phil never said design. Like, he was really crafty. He never said it wouldn't hold back game design. He just always said it wouldn't hold back development. And so then that started the whole thing about people didn't understand the difference between game design and game development, pre-production versus production. And so all of this stuff, and that led to more arguments, and people were just like really frustrated with me because I was supposed to be, you know, one of the Xbox champions, and I was actually saying something bad about Xbox. And so the funny thing about this is, when that all first started, when I had the people that was like mad because I was saying that the Series X would hold back design, the funny thing is, it was Pᴇؑᴏ who was chiming in, and he was trying to help me. And he was like, hey bro, like, you wasting your time trying to explain that to this person because they're not going to listen to you. And I was like, nah, man, I've worked in technology a long time. There was a time when I didn't understand how this stuff worked, and you just have to be patient with people, because the people that taught me were patient with me. I just need to be patient with other people. And that's the way I approach it. Like, you can ask D-Web, man. D-Web was around, and he know how that whole thing went, and he was like, you know, I appreciate you being patient with people and all of this stuff. So that's all I was trying to do, be patient. But I realized after a while that, like, no matter how many times I explain this, like, I will tweet, the sky is blue, and the responses would be, well, why do you think this tree is gonna burn in? Like, what tree? What? Like, who was talking about a tree or burning? Like, what are you talking about? I said the sky is blue. And you know, you don't have this many characters on Twitter, so I'm trying to explain all of this shit. And Pᴇؑᴏ, he would come in and he would like bro, like, they're not listening to you. You are wasting your time. And literally, I would be like 25, 30 tweets deep, trying to unravel all of this stuff and like put it back together the right way, because they done twisted what I said. They not reading what I wrote. They inferring this instead of that, and they doing all of this stuff. And I'm like, look, that is not what I said. Look, and I would try to give all these examples and all of this stuff. And soon I realized that exactly what he said was true. They weren't listening to me. The only thing they were doing was blindly defending Xbox. And I realized that the reason that they are approaching me this way is because they feel that Xbox needs to be defended against me. They see my explanations of game design and how tech affects it as an attack on Xbox itself. So I'm like, well, no, like anything, PS4, PS5, it doesn't matter who it is. When you have a lesser hardware versus a higher hardware, everything is catered to the lesser hardware. It's just that simple when it comes to game design. Like, it's that easy. Like an example right now, like we know that Microsoft Flight Simulator does not run on the Xbox One S. If that flight simulator had been designed to run on the One S and PC, it would be a very different experience than it is right now, because that old hardware would not have allowed them to do what they're doing technologically right now with the package. So like, it's obvious that this old hardware is going to cause problems. And that's another thing I did, because Microsoft had said that they're going to support the old hardware for X number of years. So I'm like, man, that's going to hold us back. Then after that 2 years is up, then that Series S is going to be there to hold games back. And it's like, man, like the design of the games are not going to advance. So again, everybody saw that as just like, they getting all these little clowns and all these different panels and all of these shows and all of these podcasts where I was appearing at before. Now they're getting all these other people on like these. I remember this little media guy, he ran a website, and he's like, well, do you think it's going to hold back game design? He's like, no, whoever says that doesn't know what they're talking about. And I'm like, this motherfucker couldn't program his way out of a wet paper bag. How does he know what affects game design? Like, what is he even talking about? Everything he said was false. So it created this stir about game design, games being held back, design being held back. And again, those are two different things. Design being held back, games being held back. Those aren't the same things. So anyway, so Porter Rock, he's jumping in. He's like, they're not listening to you, so on and so forth. I'm like, no, man, I just got to be patient. But like I said, eventually I realized, wow, they are not listening to me. They really do see me as an enemy of Xbox. And this is why they are approaching me in this way. And so it started getting bad, right? Like, I would say the Series S is going to hold us back. And so they would tweet me this thing from like Tom Warren or somebody. He know about developing games. And he was like, it's not going to be held back. Don't listen to anybody who says otherwise, or whatever the fuck he said. And so then next thing you know, you got these developers start talking about the lowest common denominator and all of this stuff. So then people would tweet at me, oh, you fake dev, you don't know this, or this dev over here, they said it's not going to hold it back. They did not like me saying that the Xbox Series S, or basically any lesser hardware, is going to hold back game design. Now, because of Xbox's approach, actually it's the PC that's going to hold back game design. But once the minimum spec for PC rises, as it will over time, especially in the next couple of years, then it will be the Series S that holds back game design. But right now, it's clearly the PC, right? But the point is, something is holding it back. So anyway, next thing you know, I'm getting all of these little hate tweets about, oh, you fake dev, and I can't believe so-and-so had you on his show, and I can't believe you was on this other show with these people, and oh, you're such a fake dev, you're just such a fraud. And so Porter Rock was like, man, I told you. He's like, I tried to warn you. And I'm like, man, he did. He tried to tell me. Because it had got to the point where I didn't even have to tweet nothing for the day, right? Like, I could go a whole day without tweeting anything at all about Lockhart holding games back. But people were still targeting me with their ire anyway, because they was pissed off. And they would just start getting all these random hate tweets, right? So at first I'm looking at it and I'm not really doing nothing, because I'm just like taking it all in. I'm like, man, these fools really mad. But then I'm seeing these tweets getting all these different likes and all of this shit. And so what I had always done, just to be clear, let me back up a little bit. So when I say the Xbox community, I had always separated the bots, the zealots, the most extreme of the extreme, and I put them in the category. And then I put the Xbox community in another category separately from them. But I noticed that these bots were saying all of this stuff and attacking me and doing all of this stuff because they didn't like my approach to games being held back. And I noticed that these tweets is getting all of these likes. And I noticed all of these Xbox community dudes who were following me and I was following them. I noticed they never chimed in to stop any of these bots from this a smear campaign that they had against me. No matter what these motherfuckers tweeted about me, all of these tweets is getting likes and retweets, but nobody's ever saying, hey, that's not the way, don't do that. So I decide to retaliate against this one particular bot. So I had some to say, and a whole flood of motherfuckers like, you should be the bigger man. Don't stoop to their level. Just move on. You're an luminary in the community. Ignore stuff like that. This is above you. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that because if a motherfucker hit me, I'm gonna hit back. And why you got so much to say to me, telling me how I should alter my behavior, but you ain't got nothing to say to this motherfucker over here? Why ain't you telling him to alter his behavior? Because I know y'all see this and these likes and retweets is coming from somewhere. So let's not act like it's just one dude off to the side, right? Like some random dude that's got 2 followers that's doing all of it. No, these are people that have actual accounts and they saying all of this and they getting a lot of engagement because they attacking your boy. Because I said game design is going to be held back by the Lockhart. So then, like I said, I decided to start fighting back. And I don't remember what the first little memeing thing is that I made, but I thought it was funny and I posted it, and it was like a lot of other people thought it was funny too. And so, now even though that didn't mean anything to me, and like I promise to God it didn't, I guess I should talk about this clout thing, but I'll say that for another day. But most of you internet niggas think about this whole clout thing or whatever, like y'all view it very differently than me. What y'all need to understand is about me is like I'm gonna retire soon with like plenty of wealth, plenty of accomplishments. Like there is nothing that I need from any of you, from YouTube, Twitter, none of that shit. All I do that stuff for fun, to engage with the community. That's it. I don't care about clout or any of that. I mean, I have enough actual clout and real money. I don't need none of this. But here's the thing though, and here's why I'm bringing this up. I made some joke meme thing. I'll have to go figure out what it was. But it was against these X bots, and a lot of people liked it. And it started getting like a lot of retweets and likes. Okay, like I said, that didn't mean anything to me because when I make a tweet, I look for the comments. That's the main thing I do. And it's just like the gaming conversation. That's the part that I enjoy. Well, this particular meme got so many retweets and so many likes that the bots changed their strategy, right? So they went from fake dev, don't know about game design, you a fraud, to Optimus Code is just tweeting stuff for clout. And the only reason he said that stuff is for clout, to get in with the PlayStation fanboys. I'm like, what? Like, what do you like? This shit don't even mean nothing to me. Like, I would make tweets and shit, and other people would know how many likes it had more than I would because I didn't keep up with that stuff. Again, I'm going right to the mentions and I'm looking to see who's talking with me. The majority of the time, I don't even know how many likes my tweets have. But they kept saying that Optimus Code, he's doing this for likes. He's trolling for likes. He's trolling for clout. And so that's when I started posting like all my numbers and stuff. Because like I realized this little clout really bothers them. So then that's when I started posting my analytics, and I was like, yeah, it must be working too, blah, blah. Look at this, 3 million impressions this week or month, whatever. I don't even remember. But the point is once I saw that this is a way to push their buttons, then obviously I started pushing those buttons. So they didn't like my tweets being popular. So of course now I'm going to start fighting back using the popularity of my tweets, right? Whatever weakness you show me, that's the one that I'm going to exploit. Like, just period. Like, but this is a common tactic. If you grew up in a roasting culture or any type of confrontation, wherever they show weakness, that is the point that you attack. This is not nothing new or groundbreaking. It's just normal stuff. All right, so I made a meme. It got a lot of attention from the PlayStation community, and the Xbox switched their strategy. He's just trolling for likes. And so after I did that for a while, I decided, all right, let me go back now and let me see if things have calmed down, and let's like try to have this conversation. Because in my mind, what the conversation should be is, okay, given that this thing is going to hold back design, what are some ways then that we can counteract it? What can we do to mitigate this? So instead of putting your head in the sand, acting like it ain't true, what we should be doing as a community, in my opinion, is figuring out, well, how do we evolve beyond it? How can we still get great game design even with these constraints? And that's the conversation I assumed that we would have, but it never got that far because they didn't. Like right now, even today, like this is not past tense. If you talk about a game holding back design, they can scale. They can scale it and all of this. Oh my God, that has nothing to do with design. Scaling, game design doesn't scale. Anyway, so all of this stuff happened, and I'm thinking we can get back to the conversation now. I done made me a few little trolling videos and images, and I had fun with it. So now I'm like, all right, let me go back. Let me see if things have calmed down. No, things had not calmed down. As a matter of fact, things had got worse. And so I don't know if you guys ever deal with like religious stuff at all, but there is this thing between like the Christians and the atheists. And the atheists have this position to where they have tried to reason with Christians for decades and decades. And no matter how much logic and reasoning they bring, the Christians will always irrationally hold to this belief in some deity. And it really makes them upset. And so the atheists have figured that since logic and reason doesn't work on you, the only thing that's left now is mockery. Because hopefully in mocking you, you will see how stupid you look. Now, I don't agree with that atheist position, just to be clear. I definitely am a theist. I am not an atheist. I am definitely a theist. That's neither here nor there, but I just want to like point it out. I am not siding with the atheist position, although I do agree with the atheist tactic. This whole idea of since logic and reasoning doesn't work, nothing's left but mockery. And so that's the approach I took. Once I tried to put my toe back in the water to see if people were ready to go back to trying to learn and build on, what we can do as a community, as a educated, stronger community. Once I saw that that was out of there and that the Xbox community didn't want no part of that, that's when I decided to just start trolling and just resort to mockery. And I made a tweet. I was very clear. I'm like, look, so I know we got the extreme Xbox people and then we got the regular Xbox fans. And I know those people aren't the same. But I'm about to start attacking these Xbox people because they get on my nerves and I can't watch their little tech shows no more. And it's like, it's all just making me sick. So I'm about to start coming for these niggas over here. I hope I do not inadvertently hurt any real Xbox fans because I'm not talking about you. When I say Xbot, I'm only referring to these bots over here. So I was very clear. I tweeted that like 3-4 times. And of course, everybody ignores that. They act like they can't find those tweets. They don't exist. So the whole entire Xbox community now decides to get mad at me because I'm attacking these bots. And they're like, well, why are you attacking us? I'm like, I'm not attacking you. I was very clear. I would reference them to the tweet. I've already said over here, this is the extremists. I'm not talking to the Xbox community, which I think highly of. Although you must sat back and watch these niggas do all of this shit and you didn't have nothing to say. But as soon as I started retaliating, everybody want me to behave a particular way. So anyway, the Xbox community was upset because I was attacking the Xbox. And I mean, I was relentless. 4 or 5 times a day. And people would like, man, it's like 5 a.m. Why are you up so early doing this? Like, it's so pathetic. Blah, blah, blah. What they didn't understand, and they still don't understand. So as part of my duties as an engineering manager, I work with an offshore team from India. And in order to have overlap with their work hours and our work hours, my work day typically starts around 4:30 a.m. But of course, they don't know this. They don't need to know. It's none of their business. So like, you all up super early on console war. Like, do you ever sleep? Go to bed. Blah, 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 blah. All of they mad, right? Because like I said, my attack was relentless. And in my opinion, I was pretty creative. And so, of course, that whole thing about he's only doing this for likes, or he's trying to get in good with the PlayStation guys. I wasn't trying to get in good with no PlayStation guys, I'm just gonna fight back. Y'all motherfuckers not gonna do me the way y'all do these other people, and then expect me to just be the bigger man or whatever the y'all call it, take the high road, and then let's let y'all be on this bullshit. Absolutely not. You attack me, and then you getting dealt with. If I care about it, of course. Some of the like some people still try, right? Like, but they so insignificant that they don't deserve a response from me because they are not valuable enough, in my opinion. So that happened. Now, while this was happening, the funny thing is, Porter Rock was in a lot of these tweet conversations, and he was in my DMs. He's like, man, they're not gonna listen to you. He's like, man, I'm warning you, you don't listen to my warnings. And the funny thing is, like I said, all of the stuff that I was trying to teach the Xbox community about tech and how the pieces fit together and why you would see certain things, and of course those things are coming to pass. The funny thing is, Rock took all of the stuff that I was trying to teach the Xbox community, and he learned it instead. And so instead of me making the Xbox community stronger, I made him stronger. And then he got even worse. Well, I mean, if you're a PlayStation fan, he got better. But if you are an Xbox fan, he got worse, because he had even more support to his arguments than he did before. And then that's really when me and Rock started kicking. And I'm like, man, out of all of this that went down, he is the only one that has been like, they not listening to you. You wasting your time. And he would hit me up. He was like, so wait a minute, what do you mean about this? He's like, okay, right, so if this goes this way, then this will go that way. Like, well, it could. It depends, A, B, C. And we would have those types of conversations. And he's like, okay, yeah, I got it. And he would run stuff by other devs, and he would be like, okay, yeah, man, like, okay, I see what you're saying. So on and so forth. And so me and him just started talking more and more because he actually wanted to learn. And even if the stuff he learned made PlayStation look bad, he didn't care. All he cared about was getting the right information, and he would change his message to reflect what was true. So he was never getting caught up in the silly that these Xbox get caught up in, because he always made sure that his argument reflected technological realities. So, and again, his main thing was focus on the games. Even if this thing has a better GPU, focus on the games. Well, even if the SSD tech is as fast, focus on the games. Well, even if it has more RAM or a faster memory bandwidth, focus on the games. So I'm not going to get into all of that stuff anymore. But so I started then attacking the Xbox even more than I did before. And at this point, I didn't even care about the Xbox community, because these motherfuckers was nowhere to be found. Well, when I say I didn't care, I mean I didn't care about offending them, because they were nowhere to be found when all of the hit the fan. When I was being attacked, silence, crickets. When I started attacking back, you shouldn't do that. So these motherfuckers, like I said, they just gonna sit back and watch me get all the smoke, but I'm not supposed to do nothing. They not doing nothing. Then if I started bringing the work, then everybody got something to say. My DMs just blowing up and tweets just blowing up like, brother, you bigger than this. And I'm like, man, get the away from me with that bullshit. No good. If you hit Optimus Code gonna hit back, and he gonna hit back harder. And I guarantee you, if you start it, I'm gonna finish it. So that's the route I took. And like I said, it was great. I was happy. And I didn't care nothing about whose feelings got hurt. If I thought something was funny about Xbox, I'm posting it. And y'all, I'm telling you, like, no matter where I was, I could be at the movies and the scene happened in the movie, and I would see Xbox and PlayStation in that scene. And I got to go make a meme about this as soon as I get home. And that's just how it went, right? And so all of that stuff happened. And like I said, me and Rock was talking more and more. And then he asked me to come on to the show, and we was just talking about like stuff with true versus false. And of course, I enjoyed gaming on PlayStation. Like I said, I always have. And Microsoft was like dropping the ball with like all of these different things as far as games is concerned. And whereas before, I sort of had a motivation to not highlight those things. I wouldn't lie about it, but I didn't necessarily want to highlight it. Again, because I'm rooting for the underdog, because I didn't like how arrogant the PlayStation community was. I didn't like it. But once I saw how these motherfuckers treated me on the Xbox side, I absolutely 100% would rather deal with an arrogant person than a leech and a backbiter like I found over here in this group. And people always try to tell me it's the same on both sides. I'm not listening to that bullshit. I know what my experience is like. So you can take that bullshit on somewhere. I know what my experience is like. And I'm not talking about some motherfucker with 2 followers saying some shit. I'm talking about actual Xbox personalities. Real ones. Popular ones. High profile ones. So miss me with that bullshit that you talking about. So next thing you know, I'm hanging around the PlayStation guys. And I've noticed that these guys, they just like chilling and they like hearing what's true. And I told them before, I told Rock on one of his podcasts, I'm like, look, if you got a genuine tech guy and this person telling you he represents tech, understand that you're not going to like everything he says. Because if he is always honest with you about technology, there are going to be some things that the competition have that you simply do not have. And if you can't hear these hard truths, then you don't want any tech guy. Because there is no tech guy where everything is in your favor. Xbox has some advantages over PlayStation. It just does. PlayStation has some advantages over Xbox. It just does. It is not true that either one of them has every single advantage over the other one. That is absolutely false. And Rock and J-Dub and J-Barry, the crew, they didn't care. Hey, look, man, whatever the truth is what the truth is. They don't attack you for telling the truth, right, about PlayStation. So I started hanging out with these guys more and more. And the more I hung around with them, the more I saw how genuine they were. Like, these is like real legit dudes. And it's like, I see why they so arrogant now. Because if these fucking bots treated them the way that they treated me, I see why the gloves is off and why it's nonstop. So, man, let me join in. So now I'm joining in and I'm full force with them, trolling left and right. But I couldn't really become a member of that community. There were 3 main reasons. One of the main reasons was they was called ponies, and like I hated that name, and I would never associate myself with that. People would call me that like never. Absolutely, positively not. Do not ever call me that. I am not a pony. Number one, because it was dumb. It don't even sound cool. It just sounds dumb. The second reason is because I want to change my own batteries in my controller. They not having that. I didn't even know that was a console war topic. But because I like replaceable batteries, that's like a big no-no for the PlayStation group. And then the third thing is because I am a big fan of Game Pass. Well, I am a big fan of the idea of Game Pass, of the concept of Game Pass. I'll actually make another video about that. And so because I would not denounce Game Pass, and because I want to change my own batteries, and because I don't want to be called a fucking pony, so I was not actually a part of that clique. So we had similar goals, which was bringing heat to these bots, but I was never actually officially affiliated with them. We would just hang out in the same circles. Well, that all changed recently. When the last couple of weeks, they did offer me that Pegasus contract. So 2 things happened. Porter Rock changed the name from Ponies to Pegasus because of the PS5. He said that the ponies have ascended to Pegasus status. I'm like, okay, Pegasus is cool. That's something I can get with. And I was offered the contract. So after that, that's good. They don't care if I want to change my batteries. They don't care if I don't hate on Game Pass. I'm just part of the clique. So that's how I ended up running with the Royal Order of Pegasus Nation. And this is right where I want to be. People keep telling me, you should mend fences with the Xbox guys. That. I'm not mending shit. I am right where I want to be. I didn't do nothing to them motherfuckers. All I did was tell the truth, and I did not deserve to be attacked. I mean, as far as attacking goes, right? Like, it's just Twitter and YouTube, right? Like, what more? It's just words. It's not like I face any actual physical danger or none of that shit, but I don't like the idea that they turned on me. And when I say attacked, I mean they didn't have my back. They wasn't in my corner when I expected them to be in my corner. Like on my timeline, different people I'll be in conversation with different Xbox guys, and some of the PlayStation dudes, they chime in and they be like, you motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa, no, dude is cool. Like, he an Xbox dude, but he cool. Like, no, like, we not doing that. So, I mean, same thing. That's what, and I do that naturally. It's like, man, if I'm with this motherfucker, we cool, we cool, we clicking. we having conversation. Ain't nobody gonna come into my conversation being disrespectful. I just expected the same thing. If I'm your guy and someone being disrespectful and you see it, speak up. Man, but how hard is that? But of course, that's not what happened. So cool, I see where it is. Same thing does happen on the other side. Man, if somebody get out of pocket with me, man, these PlayStation niggas, they quit. Man, they jump to my defense, right? Like it's all for one, one for all. It's like camaraderie. So yes, I am exactly where I want to be. I'm not interested in mending no fences with none of these bitches. I'm good. I'm cool on all of that. I'm right where I want to be. I'm happy. And when people want the knowledge that I have to share, they welcome to it. If they don't want it, then you. Again, I'm fine. I've accomplished a lot of things in this life so far. I've built a nice amount of wealth. If the things I share are valuable to you, you're welcome to them. If they not and you don't want them, then you. You don't need them. They don't need you. You don't need them. I don't need you. You don't need me. So everybody's happy. Everybody can stay right where they at. So yep, I'm good. This is how I ended up over here with the Pegasus Nation. People think that I'm biased for PlayStation. That is false. PlayStation as a platform, I mean, honestly, I couldn't care any less about the PlayStation hardware or the Xbox hardware. I don't care about either one or the Nintendo hardware, which is why I didn't care about the Nintendo Switch OLED or none of that. I don't care about none of that stuff. All I care about is the games. The hardware is just a vehicle to get me to the games. I have no allegiance to any hardware. The reason that I rock for Sony so much is because Sony is giving me the games. Again, I'm differentiating between the platform and the community. The reason I rock for Sony as an organization is because they give me games that I want. The reason that I'm rocking with the Sony community is because them motherfuckers had my back in a time when other motherfuckers was attacking me, and they have always been supportive of me, even when I was trying to give people ammunition to use against them. So these people right here on this PlayStation side, they more fit me, what I'm used to. More of the tribal nature, growing up together in the hood, kicking it, everybody got everybody back, all for one, one for all. That is why I'm in the PlayStation community as a representative of the Royal Order of Pegasus Nation. But the reason I game on PlayStation itself, those two aren't related. The reason I game on PlayStation is because PlayStation has the experiences that I want. And it's that simple. All right, any questions? Leave a comment. I will do my best to respond. If I forgot something or left something out, then I'll make another video, a part 2 or something. I don't know. Okay, so that's it. That's all I got for y'all for this one. Hopefully you stuck around for the whole thing. I know it was kind of long, but I wanted to get that whole story out there. Because, you know, these fools going to tell it in a way that is not historically accurate. They're going to try to rewrite things to fit a specific narrative that they want to push. So that's it. That's the whole story, man. If y'all enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the like button. Hey, if you like this type of content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because I got way more of this type of stuff coming. Like, this is just the beginning. I'm telling y'all, it's time to put an end to this stuff. PlayStation needs a representative that's out in these gaming streets that ain't scared to tell it like it is, and it's not gonna back down from these crusty bastards. All right, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.